Are you dealing with criticism in your marriage? Well, hi, I'm Guy Ardito, relationship expert, coach, and author. And today I want to talk about what to do when you're stuck, or seemingly stuck at least, with a critical spouse. You know, nothing can really undermine a relationship like criticism because in our relationship, we're trying to be vulnerable, we're trying to be open with our partner. We're trusting our heart, we're trusting our soul with them. And when we're feeling criticized, it kind of tramples on that and it undermines that sense of vulnerability and trust. And if it doesn't get rectified, the relationship it will inevitably fall apart. So it is really something that's very important to get a handle on and to deal with. However, there can be lots of reasons why it can seem like your spouse is being very critical of you. And it's important to parse them out in order to understand what the best course of action is to deal with it, right? You want to find out what the reasons are for the symptoms, not just the symptoms. So let's talk about some of the reasons why your spouse can be critical. All right, number one, are they going through some kind of personal crisis? And it could be something that both of you are going through, right? For example, are they going through the death of a parent? Or maybe a job change, or maybe they're at risk for losing their job, or maybe they already have lost their job. These are just a handful of examples. Health examples come to mind. These are things which create lots of anxiety, and when we're anxious, our worst self can come out. We tend to be short tempered. We can, instead of catching ourselves when we're upset, we can lash out, particularly at the people that we love the most because we tend to be around them the most and maybe feel the most comfortable with them. So ask yourself whether there's something going on with them that's making them, be short. Number two, on the flip side, are they going through some kind of personal growth program? Are they, reading books or taking seminars or something? Because if they are, then they're introducing a new dynamic into the relationship, and they might not be approaching it the right way, but their expectation of what the relationship can be or should be may be very different. Number three, have you changed in some way, right? A lot of people don't realize that sometimes they've changed. They're going through a lot of stress or they're spending more time at the job instead of in the relationship. And again, this can make their spouse very anxious, short tempered, feeling abandoned, and the worst sides come out. Are they just a mean person in general, right? If so, why have you been with them? And things happen. Understand that. Step back and really look at them over time. Have they just generally been a mean person? Or are they kind of complaining about the same thing all the time? For example, the way the dishes are done, or the way the toilet is cleaned, or anything like that. It can be something small or something big. If it's the same kind of thing all the time, then you want to talk to them about why does that particular thing is bothersome to them, and chances are it's pretty easy to resolve. However, if they seem to be just a generally negative person, that's going to be much harder to deal with. Another possibility is, are they having an affair? Right? A lot of times when somebody is having an affair, their emotions are torn, their loyalties are torn, and they typically are also feeling guilt. And all this kind of like stew or bouillabaisse of emotions can come together and cause them to be critical towards you. So I'm not suggesting you assume that's what's going on, but it's worth looking for other clues and seeing what's happening. And finally, are you being maybe a little sensitive? Are they actually being critical with you, or are they saying they're not happy about something? And again, this could tie into some kind of personal growth. Maybe they've been exposed to something, or they finally decided they've had enough. But maybe they just want some more time from you, or some more presence during the time that you are together. Maybe they just want some more attention. Maybe they feel for some reason they're having trouble, trusting you lately because maybe you're always late for things, or how you're spending money, or diverting your time or attention, any number of things. You really need to understand that. So, you have what? Those are six key reasons that can be behind a spouse being or seeming critical. And those are all going to require different approaches. Now, what's important to keep in mind is that behind all of these approaches is communication. You've got to be able to communicate with each other. You've got to be able to share how you're feeling and what you need in a way that they can understand. And you have to be able to listen, to experience, to see what they're saying, what they need. so that you can understand where they're coming from. You can draw things out of them. You can even infer based upon how they're behaving, their posture, their tone of voice in different situations. So communication is absolutely critical, and especially communication under crises, because if this kind of criticism is going on, then chances are one or both of you are feeling a generally kind of elevated sense of tension, and that's going to make any kind of normal communication very difficult to achieve or even maintain. So I hope you found this useful. Feel free to review this video again and again. I know I went through a little bit quickly, 6 different reasons why your spouse can be getting critical right now or seeming critical. And you really want to look at your relationship and understand what the reason or reasons might be. When you understand those reasons, you can begin to actually work on them, right? So is a reason something that's going on with your spouse that maybe you can step up your game a little more than usual and help them out with, or sometimes a personal crisis that they're going through? Have you changed in some way that maybe you're not appreciating, and maybe you've kind of left them behind or they feel left behind in some way? It's very easy to handle that. Is there some silly thing that is just kind of bothering them all the time? How a chore is done or something. Again, those are easy to deal with. It's harder if your spouse is a mean person or they're having an affair, or if they're going through something much more difficult on their own. But again, that's where you come in as their partner. You can't necessarily on your own fix them, but you can be loving, caring, and supportive. And those all go a long way towards stabilizing a marriage. And there are inevitably going to be ups and downs, but when you give it your all like that, when you give them your compassion, when you give them your stability and trust, when you give them your heart, your passion, your energy, well, that kind of fills up this emotional bank account and allow you to have some more difficult conversations, and to know that by having had all this good stuff in the past, that you might just be going through a rough period of a few weeks or a few months or something like that. But finally, if you're interested in more training on communication and have a thriving marriage in general, you can check out any of my programs at GuyArdito.com. That's GUYARDITO.com. You can also find information there if you're interested in coaching with me, either privately or with your spouse or partner. So again, I hope you found this information useful. Go out and use it, bring it into your relationship. Have an amazing, amazing love. Well, until we talk again, remember, life is an adventure. Live in love.